Adam Terry joining us on a Monday here after another win. Game 2 of the Fran Brown era in the books and undefeated still, Adam. And, man, they got a roll right now. It feels like vibes, momentum, all of it. What's your feeling come out in Game 2 of the season, that win against Georgia Tech?
Oh, fantastic. 2-0, getting ready to go into a bye week, able to, it doesn't seem like too many people are nicked up with injury, but it's going to be able to give you an opportunity to get healthy, get your legs back underneath you, see what you need to do as far as, conditioning for some of these guys long term, or whether that's, how do I break down film? And some of these guys are new to the program. So I know that just the intensity that Fran brings to the field, if that intensity is in the meeting room and the weight room, it's going to be a great week in order to catapult them going down the stretch into Stanford and then Holy Cross.
I'm enjoying the Fran Brown book of motivational tactics so far here, Adam. He's somehow taken it it's like the Michael Jordan thing, right? You take a small little thing and blow it up into a huge thing. Some of the comments of Brent Key last week, he had the team latch on to. Is that like a sustainable thing, pulling on like little threads like that every week? How do you think Fran can keep something like that going?
Well, I think what he's done is he's brought in a bunch of guys that are the same mentality. Like we're heavy Jersey, we're heavy Camden, we're heavy, with guys that are cut of the same cloth, different generation, but cut from the same cloth. And, things are looked at a certain way from different parts in the country. And, whenever Fran says bet, I'm like, oh, okay. All right, that's different. Like he's calling somebody out. Like he's calling himself out to hold himself to a higher standard. But then 2, it's just a matter of like, hey, dude, like this is what I'm doing. You guys, you're either with me or you're without me. Like you better follow me in order to get this thing continuing down the straight path. So, look, I love him. He's that guy that. When you turn on, you don't know what you're going to get, but you always know you're going to get a little bit of a nugget from something.
It's been entertaining to watch so far, both on and off the field, because you never quite know which way he's gonna go with something like that. He made that quite clear in his post-game press conference over the weekend on Saturday. But 2-0 now, and we got to go back to the quarterback, right? Adam, Kyle McCord's been, first drive of the season was like, whoa, what's going on here? Basically, everything he's done since has been outstanding. What do you make of Kyle McCord 2 weeks in?
Love it, right? Like. He's a phenomenal talent. He's been probably the best quarterback, and I say this, like Eric Dungy and Garrett Trade have done magnificent things for the program, but this guy's a pocket passer. He's more cut out of the cloth of a Ryan Nassib, right? And he's going to set a lot of records if this offensive line can keep him upright and keep him healthy. So, the thing that impresses me the most right now is he's very selfless in, hey, I see a guy running open down the field, I'm going to get him the football, right? Sometimes you're trying to make the big play to somebody else, but this has been, at first blush, one where you're open, I'm going to get you the football, and you go make a play. So, and it's weird to say, but I've been in programs where it's like, hey, you got to make sure you get this star wide receiver the ball 10 plays a game, or else, it's going to be hell in the locker room. But right now, I think everybody's focused in on, with team success is going to bring individual recognition. And right now, there's a plethora of wide receivers, and I think there's going to be more as the season continues.
I look back at 2 years ago, Adam, when Arande had his breakout year, and, he got the ball 8 million times a game because it not be for that reason, right? But because who else was there? There was nobody else to go to with the ball that year. How do defenses handle it this year with Arande, where you can't guard him one-on-one, but Kyle is willing to go elsewhere if you send a double team that way?
That's great football, right? Like Arande Gadsden is playing. He's that chess piece that is dynamic, right? Like you can do anything with him when you're playing this game, and the goal of football is to create one-on-one matchups, right? And then you want the one-on-one matchups to win. I mean, I've been in, Ray Lewis preached that every week. Like, hey, if you get the double team, man, I'm going to make the play. Now, as a wide receiver, you're a Arande Gadsden. If I draw the double, right, you better win. And when I get to double and they throw the ball, I'm going to win. Right? It's just that mentality of like, hey, we're gonna get after people, and whether it's tough or whether it's a one-on-one, we're gonna get the job done. It's so much. I mean, Matt and I are saying this in the booth, and I'm turning around to Paulie as well during the middle of the game, and I was like, this is fun because guys are open, right? Like guys are running by people, and you know, Nixon right now dialing this up. And Michael Johnson and everybody else that's involved, it's fun to watch. And so far, I mean, we thought Georgia Tech was a good team, and they're a good team. But if it wasn't for the special teams miscues in a lot of instances, this is not the game that the final score. You know, it's not the final score. If we hadn't had some of the miscues in the game or in special teams.
Yeah, we can get back to that too, because right, I mean they were up by 17 points, and you know the game was over. Then the touchdown and the onside kick, and then things got real interesting. Right, Georgia Tech opts to kick deep. They got the timeouts left. It's 3rd and 10, and we talk about hey, go with who's open, but right, 3rd on 10. Play with the game on your line. No surprise, right? That was a Rondé. And then the next play is your other guy in LaQuinn Allen to go back-to-back plays and seal that thing up.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just you look across and with competition, this has created tremendous depth. Like guys are in there competing, and every week you might see somebody, you know, jump out that you didn't think was in the room. So LaQuinn Allen is doing fantastic. Nixon's doing, you know, they're splitting the workload, which I didn't necessarily expect right away. But also with this, you know, Fran Brown's experience is, you know, we got to keep people fresh in order to keep them going for the long haul. And that's coming from the experience of, you know, a Georgia where you're playing 3 more games in a season than most people are, 4 more games in a season than most are. So that's a little bit different. And even, you know, myself just watching it, you're like, man, you know, that's a lot of guys going in. But if you think about it and you're at 16-game schedule and basically an NFL schedule, you're like, oh, okay, now, you know, you got to do that. You got to create depth. You got to have guys that are healthy. So that's intriguing. That was, you know, that was the first one where I stepped back and I was like, oh, we're not trying to play for a conference championship. He's trying to do something long term. And in order to do something long term, you have to go about it on a daily basis differently than what you have in the past.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball of wax, and you know they're thinking a bigger picture really than anyone's thought around here in a long time. As we got Adam Terry with us for our weekly Monday visit, so you know the Orange put it away. What did you make of the special teams miscues? It's so unlike. I mean, I get it, different coaching staff and personnel. We're not used to things like that around here. I don't want to say it's good, right? But it's something that while you're on your way to running away with it, now Fran's got reason to keep people on task here this week.
Well, it's the lagging third of, you know, of what the team is, right? Like,
yeah,
you've got 3 parts of the game: offense, defense, special teams, and offense and defense have started out strong, and usually there's something that's lagging behind. And the biggest thing is with multiple different personnel choices that are going out on the field at all time. You know, it's for some guys it becomes an afterthought of like, oh, I got to be out on the special teams. And what it's going to do is take a little bit of that veteran leadership that they have in order to get people dialed in, because there is so much back and forth on the field, off the field. And that's where a little bit of the chaos is right now. I see a tremendous calm on the offensive side, on the defensive side, but a little bit of the chaos right now is on special teams, and that'll get ironed out, right? You know, you're either as Fran would say and most would say, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. So this week, having the ability to really zone in and get the guy off the field that's not doing his job, or plug somebody in that is doing a tremendous job on that scout look or things along the lines like that's what this opportunity early in the season affords Syracuse to do.
I'd imagine, you know, with the off week this week, they'll spend a little extra time on that to try to get that part of the game ironed out here. You mentioned defense here, Adam, and Marlowe Wax. Obviously, it's a big loss. I don't know how many games you can do what you just did with Fadil Diggs the last game, especially now that other teams can, game plan for. But what did you make of him kind of occupying that role, stand-up guy in the middle, and something that I don't think there's any way Georgia Tech could have expected was about to happen?
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that you revert back to the defense, that 3-3 that we've Tony White is doing out in Nebraska, so on and so forth, and all of a sudden you take probably your most prolific defender, right, a guy that puts his hand down, can rush the passer, get after people, and you stand him up and you have play linebacker. That was, I keep reverting back to, it's fun to watch, but it was fun to watch a guy like that big and that athletic stand up, make plays, and make crucial plays. There's one where he runs through, blows up blows up the guard almost from a 3 technique position, coming full tilt, and blows up the play on a pivotal down. So I said it in week 1. I was a little bit disappointed in Diggs, right? Like, okay, how can you be disappointed after 2 sacks and all he did? But this was the game where you saw, like, he's not just a good player, but, like, he's a game changer out there at any position in that box. So, whether it's D tackle, DN, linebacker, like, you've got a special person, and very fitting on a day of celebrating Dwight Freeney, like a very special person as an edge rusher. Well, this guy can stand up and edge rush and do whatever you need him to do. And the selfless nature of saying, hey, coach, I need to put my hand down and get after it. I need X amount of sacks per week. Like, this is just bolstering his projection for what he can do on a Sunday.
Yeah, and there were multiple scouts from a variety of teams at the Dome this past Saturday. I go back to the original point, what Fran was saying about Georgia Tech and his post-game press conference. Like, he talked about the Fadil thing after the game. He's like, yeah, it was a strategic thing, and we had to figure out a way to make up for Marlo. But and this kind of goes along with the same thing. He's like, yeah, he and Haynes King were both at Texas A&M. He basically said, like, if I got Fadil Diggs staring at Haynes King, it's going to scare him. What seemed to be the general idea, which is, it's kind of a wild attitude, right, to have of a whole different way to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is, those two, from which you can, look at outside looking in. They came in together. When you're in a recruiting class together, it is kind of a special bond, whether you like each other or not. It seems though they liked each other. So, it is one where what that guy is capable across both ways. Like Haynes King, he can run the football and he can get after it, but also too, Diggs is one of those guys that, if you're throughout the nation and you're saying, hey, what's different about Syracuse right now? One, it's the people, it's the Jimmies and Joes, and now it's the X's and O's that are getting dialed in there that are really starting to, highlight every player that's getting out on the field.
Yeah. I go back to spring ball. I interviewed Fadil once standing next to him, and it's like, this is what the SEC looks like. I understand now. This is a whole different ball of wax than we're used to around here of late. Adam Terry with us. I got to get back to offense for a second because I neglected to ask about this guy, which seems kind of silly since he's got 5 touchdowns so far this season. Trevor Payne is like out of his mind right now. What's going on here with Trevor? Like, there's been nothing, with injuries and whatnot. There would have been no way to project this happening this season. Is this sustainable here? I mean, maybe not 2 touchdowns a game, Adam, but like just the style of ball that Trevor's playing right now.
People are going to go after him. It's a situation where, when you bring success, people are going to start to take notice, and he's had a lot of success early on, and what that's going to do is no different than what Aronde Gadsden did, right? Trevor is a little bit of a recipient of what the attention that Aronde has garnered, right? Rightfully so. And now all of a sudden you got another guy who's doing some big things and has been so successful at the beginning of the season. Now, in 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to find out about another orange wide receiver, maybe 2 wide receivers, because you got to pick your poison. There's only so many guys on the field, and you can only double cover so many people. And right now, Trevor Payne is going to start to draw that eye of a defensive coordinator and start to say, okay, well, we can beat by Gadsden. We can also get beat by Pena. Now what do we have to do? and that limits what you can do defensively as far as rolling coverages and how you situate your defense.
It's been fun to watch. It has been fun to watch so far through 2 weeks. And lastly here, Adam, it's kind of weird, right? This week 3 bye week. I get it's a 2 bye week season, which is different than normal, just how the calendar hits. Like, how do you keep it rolling here? Like, you'd probably want to hop back out there right after you're coming off a win like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous thing, and for Syracuse right now, if I'm a guy within inside those walls, you can continue to do daily what is asked of you, and I think with the results that have been shown, right? Like everybody's getting excited, and now it's. I think from the outside looking in, if you're a fan, like, hey, you're either going to get on this train and you're going to ride with them, or, you can sit at home and enjoy yourself that way. But just, the magnitude of what's occurring there right now and the effort and the execution, I'm excited to see what they can do long term.
Well, the train ride's been fun so far. Looking forward to see where it goes. All right, man. Enjoy the weekend off. We'll talk again next week.